Hi, Miss Sarah here, and welcome to your first video of setting dimension. So we've just applied our base. We've got a nice foundation going here. That's great. However, that means now that when the light hits us, we've essentially taken out all of the dimension to our face. We have flattened it. So now we have to go back and add in the dimension using highlights and shadow and contour the structure of our face. When you think of highlight and shadow, I like to think of a mountain. So the highlight is where the sun or the light would strike first, and the shadow is where the sun strikes last. So if I am thinking of a mountain, right? Here's my sun shining down. This is the closest part to the sun, the peak of the mountain, that's where it's going to hit first. Whereas my valley is the lowest part, and that's going to be the darkest, right? Everything in between is a gradient from brightest, bright, bright, brighter, getting less bright, shadowy, 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 darkest. And the same is true with your facial structure when the light hits it. Of course, you need to think of, is this makeup going to be straight makeup or character makeup? And what I mean by that is straight makeup as if it's just your character that you're playing looks pretty much like you, right? Same age, same skin type, same everything. You don't have any facial differences. Character as if I need to play someone older or someone with a giant nose or someone that's really mean and angular. They look different than I do, so I need to make character makeup to change the shape of my face to look like them. Straight makeup is just, I'm only making changes to help with the stage and the distance that I'm going to be looked at, making allowances for distance and light, but I still look like me. Great. Rule with highlight and shadow: for every highlight, there is a shadow, and vice versa. You cannot have one without the other. They go together. So let's think about where on our face the light hits, where we have dimension. How about that? Where on our face is not a flat, or if our face was a giant like piece of paper, where are the points of it that have depth, that have dimension to them? Well, the first thing I want everyone to do is feel their face. Oh, what's that giant thing right there? It's your nose. That is where I always start my highlight and shadow, is because that is a center point of your face. And huge highlight and shadow needs there, right? So nose, we've got our brow line, mostly our orbital sockets, right? Where our eyeballs go in there. Cheekbones, right? That's a big bone there. We're gonna add structure back in there. These right here, nasolabial folds. See how it's that line that goes down from your nose all the way to your mouth? It's bigger and more prominent on some people than others. I've got really big cheeks, so it's quite prominent on me. Right, chin, right here, that sticks out. Jawline, very important, and a lot of people forget about it. Everyone's always about making them cheekbones look sharp and looking. No. Make sure you have a jawline, because otherwise it looks like you just have a very long neck. Also, Cupid's bow, which is right here. And a lot of times, I also, especially if it's a character look, you don't have to do this for your regular stage makeup look, unless your character's supposed to have a really big nose, maybe. But I emphasize the nostril by putting shadow in and around it right here. and that makes it look wide and gaping. Because that is a shadow, right? We've got a hole in our face, 2 of them. So to show that, I would, and emphasize it, adding in that shadow. Last thing for this particular video is the idea of chiaroscuro. It's an Italian word. And it is something that you mostly hear in painting and drawing. It is the concept of light and darkness. Chiaro is for light, scuro, dark. They come together. We need the dark and the light to be able to see something, right? Without them both, something is bland and boring and not really worth our time. It is our job as makeup artists to use that painting or visual arts technique of chiaroscuro to add in that dimension and think about how the light would affect these characters. And as you go on, if you were to go on to be a makeup designer, what's really important is, even if I'm not just doing straight makeup, or if I am, if all of my makeup looks for a show are extremely deeply contoured, right? My highlights and shadows are very intense. That might be for a reason, to show something within the play or within the characters about them through their makeup. So just playing with that idea of light and dark and using them together to see the full picture and what that is about. All right, I will see you in the next video about contour or shade. All right.